What's going on, guys? Hope everybody had a great weekend. Happy Monday. And this is the TRM Atom review. This is another knife that my good buddy Micah sent me to check out and review. And I have been carrying and using this thing, testing it out for the past couple weeks, and I have finally come to my conclusions on it. So let's get straight into it. We have a blade length of 3.5 inches with a cutting edge of 3.375 inches. We have a blade stock thickness of 90 thousandths. We have a handle length of 4.625 inches, a handle thickness of 0.39 inches, a overall length of 8.125 inches, and it weighs in at 3 ounces. This knife is made in the USA and retails for $200. And we have a blade steel of 20 CV with a HRC hardness rating between 60 and 61 Rockwell. So not too bad on the specs, pretty impressive. This is a extremely thin knife, very lightweight, very pocket friendly, and we have a deep carry titanium clip right here. Works very well. The clip is recessed into the scales. The screws are not, but it has not been an issue whatsoever. We have titanium liners, and this is in fact a liner lock for those of you who like liner locks. We have excellent lock bar access right there, and nice solid lockup, probably around 50% without getting too scientific. So yeah, let's get into the different categories and my ratings. So for the ergonomics, I gave this a 4 out of 5. The ergos are better than I expected with how thin it is, but the edges of the G10 are just a little bit sharp when you are squeezing down on it really tight. So if you look inside here, it's the inside edges of the scales that I'm talking about, all the way around it. It has kind of a sharp inner edge to it, and these are in fact not the scales that come stock on it. So I don't know how the stock scales feel, if they're any better or not, but I definitely would recommend that they soften that up a little bit. So the clip gets a 5 out of 5 because, like I said, it's deep carry, easy in and out of pocket, titanium clip, works excellent. Carry gets a 5 out of 5 because this is super light, it's slim, and it literally carries like it's not even there. As far as hot spots go, it gets a 4 out of 10 because this is pretty good. There's not really any hot spots besides what I said about the scales, so it gets docked a point for that. As far as cutting performance goes, we get a 5 out of 5, perfect score. This is extremely slicey. There are very few folding pocket knives on the market with a blade stock thickness below 100 thousandths. You really don't even see them below maybe 120, or yeah, like 120 is considered pretty slim. So 90 thousandths is pretty crazy. And 3 ounces, I'm sure some of you probably know that is extremely lightweight. This is pretty much a feather. We have a nice, it's a little bit heavy towards the back, but it's okay. It feels fine in hand. For the action, it's going to get a 3 out of 5. And I have to say, this action is kind of boring. It's smooth. It's not super smooth. It's on washers. There's no issues with it, okay? This knife functions absolutely excellent in every way, but it's kind of function over excitement. There's not really anything very exciting about this. Nothing flashy. It's just a knife, and it does what it's supposed to. So I can't really fault it for that. The detent gets a 4 out of 5. It is not a strong detent, but it's perfectly strong enough for this knife. especially because it is not really much of a fidgety knife. And well, if you give it a good shake, you can shake it out, but I don't foresee it really being an issue. Maybe we'll dock it a point and say 3 out of 5. But as far as deployment goes, the detent works really well. The hardware gets a 5 out of 5. We have minimal hardware. It is all Torx. And one thing that's really cool is that these scales come off after just removing, I believe, these 2 screws, and the pivot you do not have to remove. So that's kind of neat. For the aesthetic, it gets a 3 out of 5 because, just my personal opinion, I find it kind of boring. It's not necessarily bad looking, but it just doesn't look good. For the price, we give it a 5. At $200, it's really not bad for a knife that's made in the USA. And we have a premium blade steel. We have titanium liners. You can't really go too wrong with that. For value, it gets a 4 out of 5 because it's not bad, but it's not necessarily great. And they retain a decent amount of their value, but it's not going to hold as much value as a lot of other knives. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but from what I've seen, they tend to drop on the secondary value a little bit more than most other knives. For the fit and finish, it gets a 3 out of 5. The fit and finish is pretty great besides the sharp edges on the G10, which these may not even be TRM scales. I really don't know, so I apologize if they aren't. For the lockup, it gets a 5 out of 5. Rock solid lockup, no lock stick. Lock bar access, 5 out of 5. Excellent access. Really couldn't be any better. Fidget factor gets a 1 out of 5 because it is, quite frankly, just boring. For the overall design, it gets a 4 out of 5 because it functions excellent and they packed a lot of capability in a nice slim light package, sort of like what Benchmade did with the Bug Out a couple years back. But honestly, I think I would take this over the Bug Out. I'm not a really big Benchmade fan due to their quality control issues. They've just dropped the ball a lot in recent years, and that is just my humble opinion. You don't have to take my word for it or agree. For materials, it gets a 4 out of 5 because we have titanium liners, G10, and 20CV, but there is nothing really exotic or too exciting to give it that extra point. Blade steel gets a 5 out of 5 because 20CV is an excellent blade steel choice for any EDC knife. Innovation gets a 4 out of 5 because I think it took them, some work to get this design to function well and be this slim and work as good as it does. So I give them a 4 out of 5 on that. The centering gets a 4 out of 5 because it is absolutely perfect. Very impressive. Tolerances, 4 out of 5 because they are very good, but it's not the best I've ever seen. Blade grind gets a 5 out of 5. Nice even blade grind. Excellent geometry. And we have a nice Stonemarsh finish on here. The factory edge gets a 5 out of 5. I was told it came very sharp and had a nice even bevel. This is not the factory edge that is currently on it, but the original owner told me that the factory edge was very nice. And for closing, it gets a 1 out of 5. It's a push shut close kind of knife, or push closed. You can, shake it down It, all right. Maybe I'll give it a 2.5 out of 5. It just, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little harsh on it, but it just doesn't really do it for me. As far as there's just not any real excitement in this knife. And to be quite honest, I didn't have that much excitement coming with it either, because due to the blade geometry, I knew it was going to cut good. So once again, there was nothing that really surprised me, or nothing unexpected. Something that's pretty cool is when you pick up a knife that is a nice beefy thick blade and that ends up cutting really well, then that's something that I get excited about. But that's just me. So that's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.